Hello, beautiful people. Welcome and welcome back to Thrive Out Loud. And thank you so much for joining in. And first things first, house rules in here were like, comment, subscribe, click on the bell notification down below, and tell a friend to tell another friend to join in because why not? A disclaimer, if my lash falls out at any point during this video, can we just keep the show moving? I am chasing time, I'm chasing load shedding, and there's just no time. There's just not enough hours in a day. So if at any point you see my lash, not see it's off ramping, just ignore it. Let's keep the show going.
Because there's just simply no time. Load shedding is creeping up on me and I just have to record this video right now.
So as we all know, the month of October is known as the Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and this is one of the months that I kind of hold very close to me. And as the month is drawing to a close, I felt compelled to share my journey with breast cancer. Let's get into it. So, you might wonder,
your boobies are doing things.
so in this video, I'll be touching on my encounter with breast cancer, my personal journey, where it started, where it went, all the T-junctions and potholes in it, and maybe it might help someone. It might compel someone to get checked out, get looked at, because you don't want to leave it until it's too late. So this story starts sometime in high school. I first discovered what felt like little balls, they're called lumps, in my breast. I think I was about 14 going on 15. I know I was definitely in high school, and just one day I actually don't know what I was looking for here. I wasn't of age yet, so I was just touching my boobs because a little bit of background on that. When you are almost a teenager and your boobies kind of start forming. When I was in boarding school at the time, and it was no secret that my boobies were on the larger side compared to everyone else's. Everyone still had these perky little ones and they looked cute. And then by the time I was like 13, I was already kind of wearing bras because I had like full formed boobs. They were still upright and stuff, but they were just kind of bigger than everyone else's. It was hard not to notice because we all shower together and we all get dressed together and stuff. Right? So that's one of the things that, kind of always stood out. And then now going into high school, I had kind of now become accustomed to just touching my boobs because I love the idea of having breasts, and, I loved the shape and all of that. But on one such touchy occasion, then I noticed that there was kind of a growth. It's called a lump. There was a lump in my breast, and it was not there the last time, and so it caught my attention. Okay, now what's this? You understand? Because there's the part where your boobs start forming, and there's that hard part I just forgot the name. There's that hard part in your breast. It wasn't that, because by that time my boobs had already formed. Now it felt like I was kind of getting a second boob, and obviously it worried me. And being a girl child, I went to my mom to say, hey, there's something in my boobie that I'm not understanding. And baby girl dismissed me. Baby girl said, we'll have it checked out. Don't tell anyone about it. Just continue as normal. Okay, continue as normal. Sharp. No problem. And then over the next couple of weeks, I began to notice that small growth that I had felt in my breast was now growing in size, and eventually it began to multiply. Then it went from 1 to 2 to 3, and before I knew it, it was now going to the next boob. So now it was not just, because I first discovered them in my right boob, and then now it was not just the one breast. Now it was in both boobies. Now baby girl, now what's going on? And then there was a time when I visited my grandmother. So my grandmother is a professional nurse. She's just retired now, but she's a nurse. She's a registered professional nurse. So in as much as I was told not to tell anyone, there's no way you're going to hold back health issues from a whole nurse. So then I remember I was taking a bath, because when I was told not to tell anyone, then I kind of just decided to dismiss it. I decided, okay, maybe it's really nothing, let me just forget about it. Then I remember I was taking a bath. This is now my grandmother's house, and as I'm now washing the bosom area, then I remember feeling that, wait, here's that lump again. And then I remembered that there was a couple of them in the next breast as well. Then I decided to ask my grandmother about it. I told her what I had felt, and I told her when it had started. So just a bit of background, our family has a history with the different kinds of cancers. We've lost a couple of family members due to cancer, and obviously this was a scare to my grandmother because it was her siblings specifically that were passing on as a result of cancer. So she decided to take me to the doctor, and when we got there, that's when I met my first, I'll call them my first breast doctor, because I've had quite a few of those. Then he kind of explained what was going on, like the symptoms of what he thought was going on, and he said he will then have to refer me to like basically a surgeon, a professional doctor, surgeon type of vibe, so they can now take a sample of the different lumps in my breasts, send them to like a lab like Lancet, and then only when we get results will we know what's going on. Because the thing is, when you get those lumps, it may or may not be breast cancer, but it's not safe to rule it out without first getting like a professional medical diagnosis. So when he examined them, right, so he started on the breast. Let me know if you want a separate video on how to specifically do a self-examination, what are the signs to look out for, and that sort of thing. So then he did an examination on me, had me lying on the bed, and he basically also showed me how to do a self-exam. So that's basically when you divide your own breast into basically 4 parts, and you basically press against your breast just to basically feel if there's any abnormalities, if there's any growth that you can feel, and what it feels like, if it moves around or if it remains still. There's the ones that run around, and then there's the ones that basically are stuck to your meat, right? So as he was doing those examinations, then he did say, Hori, he was worried about a couple of them, because normally when it's non-cancerous, so the non-cancerous, okay, my story is going to be a bit all over the place, but bear with me. So there are 2 types of lumps, or 2 or more, but it's basically whether it's malignant, whether it has cancer, or non-malignant if it doesn't have cancer. So the non-malignant ones are normally called fibroadenoma. It's just a normal lump that forms in the breast, maybe when your breast tissues are just forming abnormally, developing abnormally sort of vibes. And then there's obviously the cancerous ones. So normally the distinctive difference they have between the 2 is that the ones that are non-cancerous, the fibroadenoma, they normally move around quite a lot. Like when you're trying to self-examine yourself, it normally, when you press it moves to the other side, when you press it moves to the other side. So on that specific day when I had my doctor's consultation, he was worried about the fact that, okay, there's a couple that are moving around, but then there's some that they feel like they're almost stuck to the skin, almost like they're stuck to my meat. And that's when he now referred me to the lab to get tested, and to a surgeon in the nearest town. So now I'm getting scared because I'm only 14. You understand? Like, not me, understand? And at that point, I'd fallen in love with my boobs. There's a thing that boobs do to your body that I really, really loved. Then now I'm worried, could it be, could it not be? And that was how I was introduced to the concept of breast cancer. And then obviously I started researching more, I started reading more. I even started making my friends aware in high school to say, but you need to check out your boobs, check if there's nothing inside it, and if there is, get it checked out, because you never really know. And some of these growths, like, they can almost go undetected if you're a person who doesn't really, because some of them were really small. I couldn't really feel it, because initially I thought there was like 3 on the right and 1 on the left. But when I eventually had the surgeon's consult, like the other doctor's consultation, he now discovered that there was actually 7 on my right boob and like 4 on the left. Just that the other ones they were still small, they were growing, and they were kind of undetectable. And that was super scary. That was extremely scary. And then I remember now they ran a couple of tests, and then the test results came back, and most of them were non-malignant, but his worry was that some of them were reading off as inconclusive, like it was unclear whether it was cancerous or not. And so they decided that, okay, we'll need to operate, we'll need to basically remove all the lumps. It's safest to test them when they're already out. instead of just waiting for them to now present themselves as to whether they are cancerous or not. Now that is scary. Now that is scary news. Okay, I don't want to lie. Okay, then as the months went by, because obviously the time between my first consultation and the second consultation and the third consultation and the tests in between, right up to the date where I had my first operation, it took about a year and a half to 2 years, because I remember I first had the first consultation. I had it in 2009, late 2009 going to 2010. And I remember I had my operation in 2011. I was now in grade 10. I was now about 16 or so. And it was around August, somewhere there. So you understand the period of time. And in that period of time, the growths that were in my breasts keep on growing and becoming even more uncomfortable. I remember at some point I had to now move from a certain bra size to like 2 or 3 sizes larger, because these stuff were filling up my breasts, and like you could even see them protruding on my skin to show that there was like some abnormalities going on in my boobies, and they were now making me uncomfortable. They were getting painful. My boobs were becoming heavier, and this obviously affected my back and a lot of things, and it was just not cute vibes.
Not cute vibes at all.
So August of 2011 came, and this was now time to have the operation. So now school was in full session. I wasn't on holidays or anything like that. So I basically had to inform all my teachers that I would be going under the knife. Basically, I'd be going to get operated on a set date, and I think I needed like a week or 2 to recover at home before I could return to school. So I just had to let them know formally, give them all the letters and stuff, and just request to be excused from school for like 3 weeks, just so everything could heal properly and nicely before I'm now back at school. Then I had the first operation, and that was my very first operation ever in my life. And I remember going in, I wasn't scared. I was just a bit numb, because I actually didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what's what. And then now we move. It's life. We move on. And then okay, it happened. We had to get to Mediclinic, I think at around 5 o'clock in the morning. And obviously they tell you not to eat anything from, I think they said from 6 p.m. the previous evening. I wasn't supposed to eat or drink anything. And I'm not supposed to eat or drink anything on the day of the surgery as well. Got to hospital at around 5 a.m. and my operation was scheduled for, I think, 9 a.m. if I'm not mistaken, 9 a.m. And we're filling out the paperwork and just basically preparing, getting ready, I guess, to go under the knife and praying and stuff. And then it was time. That's when now they basically dress you in the backless dress, the dress that like it closes in the front and then opens in the back. And then my nurse was like, but because you are having an operation in the front, you actually have to wear it the other way around, because we need access to the babies up here. So okay, switched it around, and then I went to the hospital room. And then shortly after 9, just like 2 minutes after 9, I was now wheeled off to theater. And it is so cold in there. Then got to theater and met all these like maybe 5 or 6 different doctors or so. They introduced themselves. One said, I'll be the surgeon, I'll be the one operating. One said she's the anesthesiologist, I might be wrong. And the other ones, they introduced themselves, and then then when it's time for them to put you to sleep, then they asked me to look up, and they put the thingy, and there was a lot going on. But then there was a fluid that they injected on my hand, and she said it might feel a bit cold, like your body might feel like it's freezing, but don't worry, it's normal. And then they put that thingy, and then they keep speaking to you to check if you're still still awake or not, if you're still able to kind of take in and give back information. And I just remember the lady speaking to me, and then went off to sleep. So the operation went well. By the time I woke up, there's a big fly in the house, and it's annoying me. By the time I woke up, it was already after midday. It was like the afternoon, like after 2. Then I woke up, And obviously now when the anesthesia is wearing off, you're feeling a lot of things. I'm still drowsy and tired, and my throat felt so dry, but I was just happy to be alive, man, because we hear a lot of stories about people who go under and never come back. And I think that was one of my biggest fears actually about the operation, to say, what if I never wake up, But, these are doctors, they know what they're doing, but I'm just saying anything could happen. Then, as soon as you wake up, then they're going to try and give you water, and then they're going to try and offer you food. And to this day, after all the operations I've had, I feel like the worst time of anything, like I feel like the worst possible thing to happen is the food you're offered immediately after an operation, because your body is going to reject it from the get-go. And the throwing up is painful because your stomach has been empty for so long, your throat is dry, everything just hurts. So that was the worst part of this whole entire experience. The part where I'm offered food and I'm hungry, like I want to eat the food, but the food doesn't want to be eaten. The food is just coming back, and the coming back is painful, painstakingly painful. So then that was that, and I remember I was discharged after a couple of hours, and I couldn't feel my boob area until a little later on in the day. But the pain wasn't bad. Like on a scale of 1 to 10, I think I'd put it on like maybe a 6.5 to a 7. It wasn't bad. Like it wasn't, because I expected not to be able to walk, but it was manageable, it was bearable. And then I was discharged, and obviously now it feels weird because you can feel that something happened on your chest, but like it's not immediately painful. No, this fly is terrorizing me. It's not immediately painful or uncomfortable, but all the stitching and the bandages that are on my breasts were just, I could feel that something happened. And then I was instructed that I would have to basically wear a bra 24/7 for the next, I think, 7 days. And I'd need to come back, I think, a week later to basically remove the stitches and to see how it's healing and that's how my first operation went. And shortly after I kind of healed, life went back to normal, and this door's gonna annoy the me. And I went back to school, life went back to normal, and I thought I was done. I thought, okay, that's the end.
I thought, whew.
Life said, that's it, you know what, we're done, and we can close that chapter for good.
But boy, was I wrong.
Stick around for part 2. I'll be getting into what happened next. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Thrive Out Loud. As always, it's such a pleasure sitting here, sharing a bit of myself with you, one episode at a time. Reminder about the house rules in here were like, comment, subscribe, click on the bell notifications, and tell a friend to tell another friend to tell another friend to bring some popcorn, because bye.